If the Cincinnati Reds are going to take advantage of their competitive window being open, the time to strengthen this team and act is right now.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Reds, every single day. My name is Jeff. His name is Steve, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons, and we're glad that you're alongside us here today. On today's show, a little bit later on, we are live, so we're going to jump into the comments section, and we're going to talk some Reds baseball with you, because we are glad that you're alongside us here on this Aloha Live Friday. I know we used to call it that. Maybe we'll bring that back. I don't know. Well, today's Friday anyway, so it's Aloha Live Friday. In just a few minutes, we'll talk about why the Reds already seem to be setting the pieces on the board for a nice offseason, and a couple of moves that they've already made, and a couple of interesting developments when it comes to arbitration. But we will begin with why it's time to take advantage of the window, and we need to call it that, by the way, too. That's all on today's episode that is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new users can bet $5, and if you win, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today. And before we jump into the contention window and why we just need to call it that, I know we're not talking about peaks and valleys anymore in Nick Krall's world, but it is clearly a window of contention. I would like to surprise Steve with some breaking news that I found out in prep he did not know about. Santiago Espanol has been outrighted off the 40-man roster, and he has the option to elect free agency. I can't believe we're at this point finally.
Terry Francona will not let this stand. This is unacceptable. No, you could kind of, the month of September, Jeff, you could see the writing on the wall. This was coming. And, I maintain that signing him last offseason was the right move for this ball club. What he brought from a versatility standpoint, the ball club needed. But also now the needs have changed for this team, and he is the odd man out. I believe he will elect free agency, and someone's going to take a flyer on him. Someone's going to bring him in as at least a part-time player. He'll get a deal somewhere. It won't be in Cincinnati. It won't be one of those deals where he signs back here for cheaper. He's going to get a contract. He was what the Reds needed when they signed him, and it makes sense to let him move on.
Santiago Espanol, you are a Pittsburgh Pirate. But no, I don't bet on him at all. I appreciate what he has given to the Reds these last couple of years, but honestly, yes. I mean, the writing was on the wall. It's time to move on. There's too many guys that can play too many positions at a very mid level, and he is even sort of below mid when it comes to a lot of different things about the game. So look, it's nice. We're moving on. I'm happy to see that the Reds have made that decision, but it's important that they take advantage of this offseason.
And before you dive into the window, and while we're talking about DFAs, let's say aloha. This is Aloha Friday. Let's say aloha to our guy, Ian Jabot. I'm mostly sad that this means now there's not going to be any more jerseys in the grab bags that fit me. This will be.
I mean, January, you can get yourself an opening day.
That's jersey. What I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And then that's it.
It's got.
I like them. I like them big and bulky. I like them loose. That's the Ian Jabot fit right there.
Something tells me that's going to be like $1 billion. Like, this guy closed opening day. We got to charge a lot for his jersey. It's like, that's where we're going with that. Anyway, contention windows and everything. We need to call it that, because I know that Nick Krall a couple of years ago said one of his most infamous quotes of, we want to eliminate peaks and valleys. And while I understand that he was trying to convey a feeling of we want to be successful all the time, really what that's turned into is we just want to be a 500 ball club. And I think that is a horrible mentality. That is a poor way to manage your roster, especially when you have a man in Elly De La Cruz who's only going to be here for a few more years. The contention window is now. You cannot just constantly look at all these prospects and say, well, we're going to contend when Enro Arroyo gets here. We're going to contend when Ty No, sorry, Steele Hall. I just forgot Steele Hall's name that they drafted last year.
Is Ty France coming back? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. But you're not just going to be able to do all of that. So when you have the guys, you got to go all in on the guys. And that's why, as much as we are saying, yes, we would be shocked if the Reds go sign Kyle Schwarber or somebody like that. That cannot be off the board.
It can't be off the board. Unfortunately, I don't think it's on the board at all, ever. It's not something that they're taking off the board and having conversations about even. I truly believe when you look at the upcoming Major League Baseball free agent pool, you can look at it and very clearly already see tiers, right? The top tier guys, you know who the high earners, the big dollars, the long contracts, the superstar guys are. The Reds aren't even looking at that group. They're not even internally talking about that group. Those are the guys that if Nick Krall is asked, will say something along the lines of, we checked in with Kyle Schwarber and heard a big number and had some palpitations and moved right along. And they can say, right, and there was no real interest there at all. They're going to be looking at those mid-level free agents. They're going to be looking at those reclamation project free agents. They're going to be looking at those prove-it deal free agents. Those are the guys that this team is going to be looking at.
Spin zone. Santiago Espanol is making like $5 million, I think, through arbitration this year. They're saving money. They're adding money to the bank to go sign. No, I'm just kidding. But there's definitely some moves that they can make that are within the realm of possibility. And I think that starts with trades. I think that Nick Krall's got to be aggressive with trades this offseason. And whether that is with Hunter Greene or whether that is with somebody else, he cannot be scared. It's, happy Halloween, right? We forgot to, we buried the lead on that one. Happy Halloween to everybody. But Nick Krall cannot let fear dictate his offseason plan. He has got to see the vision here, because just making it to the wild card, and as I wrote in the description of today's episode, they didn't even have a cup of coffee in the playoffs. They had a cup of espresso that they sniffed and then they sat it back down on the table.
They didn't even get that. Jeff. They just walked by.
They walked
the
into
coffee
Starbucks.
shop. Yeah, let me let
shop.
Pierre into the show real quick here on this live Aloha Friday. Pierre says sounds like a repeat topic from 24-25 offseason. That's fair.
24, 22,
that's fair. These are the same things that Nick Krall has needed to do since he has been placed in charge. And we heard about they arrived early to being competitive. They're ahead of schedule. They're doing it faster than we thought. Look at all of this youth that we called up. Well, guess what, folks? It's not early anymore. It's not ahead of schedule anymore. They're in the prime of the competitive window. And if this team is going to take advantage of it, they have to act this offseason, or they're going to miss it with the looming collective bargaining stuff coming after this season.
100%. And it cannot be something where they're worried about this or that. They're going to be, because as we talked about on Wednesday's episode, the way that Bob Castellini, Phil Castellini, and the ownership group as a whole run this ball club is more as a business than a passion project. So we're not going to see them just start shelling money and throwing dollar bills at this thing. But at the same time, they've got to understand that investment could come back to pay dividends when they start getting those postseason tickets and the postseason ad revenue and all this other stuff. Because, you tell me right now that the playoff teams that have gone this far are not just reaping the benefits. I was hearing things about, I think the cheapest ticket to a World Series game in Los Angeles was something like $5,000 or something like that. It was a ridiculous number.
Yeah, there's a lot of money changing hands, and then factor in the fact that the Dodgers got an 18-inning classic out there at Chavez Ravine. The beer guys and the food guys, and everybody was happy that night except maybe the players.
Bob was watching that game on TV like, why can't that happen to us?
Right, exactly. There's money to be made, and the bottom line with what you're looking at. When you talk about the money in the postseason, somebody in the chat was just like, Nick Krall can't expect the fans to come to the ballpark if they don't make the team better. Well, the fact of the matter is they're no longer attendance dependent in the regular season. The postseason is bonus money. The regular season, this is why all the games are on TV now, because they're making far more money from the TV deals and the games being broadcast than they are trying to fill up Great American Ballpark on the regular. Now, they'll take it. They're not going to say, no, come for free. But their budget is not dependent on attendance. It's a factor, but it's not dependent on it. It's the ad revenue. It's the TV revenue that they're dependent on. Postseason money, that's extra. That's bonus money in Bob's pocket. That's money they could apply for that extra big free agent signing, something they could spend to better the team. And they've reached the point where they need to go for it because they need that, because shooting for 500 is not going to get it done in 2026.
Look, the Mets are only going to collapse so much, right? And maybe it's a totally different team that's in the Mets position next year, and they don't collapse. And as much as it took success on the Reds' part to get there, it also took a Herculean collapse from the Mets, because at one point the Mets were running the NL East, and then they turned into not even making the playoffs. So that was a hilarious collapse by them that got the Reds to where they were. So they cannot just bank on that, winning 83 ball games and making the postseason every year. It's just not going to work out that way.
Right. So it's clear, Jeff, the Reds need to set themselves up for success right now. So what does that look like? Well, we're going to tell you coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement on this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, the NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action than right now with Prize Picks. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes just 60 seconds or less to make your lineup, and you can play from anywhere Prize Picks operates, including Kentucky, just in case you were wondering. You jump in, you can pick more, you can pick less. So if you want to pick more, take Jamar Chase, for example, more yards, more catches, more touchdowns, absolutely. And just take all those same categories for the Bengals defense, allowing more. You can get in on the action over at Prize Picks. Just download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB, and you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Make sure you're subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great content we've got coming your way all off season long. We're going to be here with you for the rest of the postseason that maybe ends tonight as we're recording here, as we're live here actually on a Friday. Also, we're going to be covering all of the Reds offseason moves, the news, the information. We're going to be in your feeds all offseason long, so make sure you're subscribed.
And who'd have thought it was the Blue Jays that could end it tonight? Like,
I know, I'm so excited about that. It makes me so happy. The deferrals are struggling. They're going to have to spend clearly $800 million this offseason in order to right this tragedy.
They're going to clone Shohei.
They're going to defer. Then they're going to defer all of that money to the year 2137. That's what's going to happen for the Dodgers this offseason. All right, Jeff, let's get back into this because we've talked. The window is open. You and I are in agreement of that. I think anybody that follows this team is in agreement that the window is open. The time is now. We're smack dab in the middle of competitive season as far as the Cincinnati Reds team goes, and them being in a position to improve and compete and be relevant. So where that leaves them now is they have to set themselves up for success. They have to take this offseason and build this team in a way that sets them up to be successful on the field. And we've kind of kicked around since the end of the regular season what that might look like. We've talked bullpen, we've talked Big Bopper, and that's really kind of where the conversation starts and ends, I think, for this team setting itself up for 2026.
Yeah, it feels as though they're not going to be able to go out and fill out some sort of Netflix shopping list like we would all love that to be like, because obviously the fantasy baseball version of the Reds offseason should be, all right, cleanup hitter. And if that cleanup hitter ain't an outfielder, go get yourself another outfielder and then go, get a couple of bullpen arms and then maybe, shore up the bench a little bit. And what's the extension, candidacy look like and all that different stuff. It doesn't feel like they're going to hit all those points. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to start with the topic that we did. Like, it is clear, and Nick Krall is not going to say this. It has become very, very clear that he is reticent to the idea of labeling things as windows. But sometimes in life, you got to call them what they are. And what they are right now is the Reds are in their contention window. But success is not making the wild card and getting bounced in like 2 hours by the Dodgers by, shutting us out as much as you possibly can. Success is moving through the playoffs. Success is advancing. Success is winning the division. Like all those different things that they've done not even that long ago. I mean, they won the division twice in 3 years to begin the 2010s. And so whatever happened after that point, they need to just reset it, go back, back to that like competitive mentality. And they've got to really figure out how many of these things they can check off the list this offseason and really shore up this team, because they have gone into every season. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but it feels like since 2012, and you could probably even argue 2012, they went into the season with an obvious gaping hole somewhere in the roster. And I really wish they would just stop doing that.
They have in fact done that. I don't recall an offseason where there wasn't one area of this team that we looked at and we started with the words, I hope that. Yeah. And it's either this guy pays off or that somebody else learns that position or that they, an outfielder falls out of the sky, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We've started the conversation with, I hope that. And it would be really refreshing to go into spring training and not have to start that way.
And it's a little bit of, preaching to the choir. I'm sure folks are in the comment section right now like, well, you doy. That's what we're thinking too. But I really kind of hope that the Reds understand this coming into this offseason, where it feels as though we can tell you what we expect this team to do. And what we expect this team to do is a couple of different things that aren't exactly like the most exciting options of those questions. Like, they will give us answers, but they will not give us all of the answers, like that type of a thing. Like, imagine you get handed a test in school with like 10 questions on it and you answer 3 of them. That's kind of what it feels like this off-season plan has been for the last decade and a half. So I really want to see them answer all of the questions in some way, even if it is a little bit of a retread or a guy that needs to bounce back or something like that, then make up for it in another area with a really good answer. Because between the money that they should have left over after arbitration and the guys who they could trade for more talent, they should be able to answer all of these questions.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to an experiment like that. And the last few really haven't worked out in the outfield. They tried Will Myers, they tried Austin Hayes. They're trying with the, can we squeeze one more year? Can this guy bounce back kind of thing? I get it. But that can't be the sole move, right? That can't be the only move. Exactly. That can't be where, again, we're like, well, God, I hope that Austin Hayes can hit, because if not, Jeff's playing outfield again this year, and we're really tired of Jeff playing outfield. It's like that, right? So if you do that, if you're gonna go get a guy and say, okay, we're getting a corner outfielder, he'll platoon. We hope that he bounces back. His splits say he could have big numbers at GABP. Great. Well, then you have to revisit the whole conversation of moving Elly De La Cruz to center field. You have to put your best of your rest lineup on the field. You can't sit on your hands and say, well, we signed that guy, right? That's all we needed to do. No, it's not all you needed to do. And you need to figure this out, Nick, because you've sat on your hands for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I said when I reacted to the different moves that the Reds made this last offseason, I was bullish on them with one key asterisk, one key caveat of each move, where I'm just like, this feels like a good move if they make another one or if they make a bigger one, because the Austin Hayes move, the Gavin Lux trade, the different relief pitchers that they all signed are like, okay, these are fine, but what's next? What's more? And we never got more. All we had were these bunch of complementary moves that they tried to cobble together. And to their credit, it got them to the playoffs, but it was clear once they got there, they had huge deficiencies that they weren't going to get much further than where they were, albeit we kind of thought things would gel together a little bit more, but that is the bane of our existence. We try to be more positive than most, and sometimes that really bites us in the butt. But I know this. There's lots of different things, lots of different ways that this offseason can go. We have lots of takes on that. We know you have lots of takes on that. We're going to jump into all of that coming up next. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Plus, they've got the futures odds when it comes to the NBA Finals. Right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are favored to get yet another championship at 2-1 odds to win the NBA Finals right now. Denver Nuggets right behind them, and the Cleveland Cavaliers both with the same odds at 7-1. And then the New York Knicks at 11-1. I think we all know what happens with the New York Knicks, but hey, I'm not here to judge. Anyway, they've got plenty of futures odds over there as well. And if you're a new user, your first winning $5 wager will get you $300 in bonus bets. So what are you waiting for? Go have fun on FanDuel today. Download that FanDuel app right now. And if you can't watch us on YouTube or be able to join us live like today, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We are literally on every single one of them. I urge you to go check us out there right now. Appreciate everybody for joining us on this live reaction to the Santiago Espanol being cut show. Just kidding. The Aloha Friday episode that we had planned all week long.
Emergency
Reaction episode. Didn't do one for Angie Bo. We're doing one for Santiago Espanol here.
And that's the bigger crisis because our clothes aren't going to fit, Jeff. We
had Steve, just like for 2 more seconds, let's appreciate the fact that a guy got 301 at bats with an OPS plus of 57.
Hey, there's hope for you and I yet. We're this close. We're this close to making it. I think we can put up a 60. I think we can do it.
He's
All
in
right,
better
let's do
shape
this,
than
Jeff.
both of us, though. I'll say that.
Well, okay, that's fair. That's not. Never mind. All right, let's dive into this. We're gonna start with some questions and comments here from the comment section. If you put something in earlier in the show, put it in again. That way I don't have to dig backwards. We'll just move forward here. We're gonna start with this from Scott Campbell. The Reds can fix this with trades, but with the looming CBA, will they? I think they're much more likely to try and fix it with trades than they are to sign somebody to a 5-year deal, not knowing what the economics look like beyond the CBA. You're figuring they're going to trade for a guy that's either team control at the major league level already or on a contract that's expiring in a season or two that was a free agent deal that somebody else signed. They're not going to go trade for a big money free agent that somebody else signed. So it's going to be a relatively inexpensive team control deal, somebody on their rookie deal kind of thing, or it's going to be a free agent that wasn't signed to big money. Those are the 2 most likely things that they'll trade for. And I agree with you, Scott. I think they could go out and formulate a trade. And we spent a lot of time this week talking about Hunter Greene and what that might look like. That would be the deal that got it done, right? That would be the deal that would go get a bona fide power hitter that's probably younger and under his team control deal in arbitration years versus them going out and signing a guy.
Yeah, because I think that they are okay with the idea of going through arbitration with people. It kind of, because I forgot to mention this in our second segment, but it kind of plays along with the idea of Matt McLain, because they are done with the whole idea of manipulating service time so that they avoid Super 2s and all this other stuff. If the guy's talented enough, they will bring him up. And according to, I saw this
sometimes he doesn't even have to be talented enough if they just,
if they need
Chase
him.
Petty this year. Yeah.
if the position is open. But yeah, there was a post by MLB Trade Rumors, and I shared it on X. If you don't follow me, I'm at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. But a post by MLB Trade Rumors that says that the cutoff for Super 2, which is, early arbitration entry and all that stuff, has been set at like 140 days of service time. And literally, Matt McLain has that. Right on the nose of 140. So he is going to get what is projected to be like a $2 million raise this offseason. But I think that the Reds are absolutely okay with the arbitration system as is. That being said, I think that's what they're going to look for if they're going for a trade. They're not going to go for a veteran that's on some sort of 10-year deal. They're going to go for a guy that's in his arbitration years, ideally with more than 2 years of control. And I honestly think, as much as we talk about the Hunter Greene trade possibility, the only way that they make that trade is if they get blown away. Like, I think Nick Krall is waiting for another GM to blink And if they don't blink, then whatever. You still got Hunter Greene for multiple years. You don't have to rush this if you really believe that you're trying to make some sort of trade for him. But as it is, I think that, if a trade happens, it's going to be one that kind of excites us.
Scott goes on to say he would like to see the Reds trade for Taylor Ward. And it's funny to me because, earlier in the show, right? Sounds like a repeat of the 24-25 talking points in the offseason. Yeah, because Taylor Ward's who I wanted to go get.
They stay the same.
That's who I wanted to go get last offseason when we were like, they're going to go get an outfielder, right? They're absolutely going to go get an outfielder, right? Yeah, Austin Hayes. They went and got Austin Hayes. So we're talking again about Taylor Ward. And what do you think about this other move that
Shea Langoliers? Yeah,
Shea Langoliers.
They call them Bangoliers out there, Sacramento, Oakland, Vegas territory, because he can hit the ball real hard and real good. But I wonder a little bit about that one. It's funny because our friend Booney over at Locked On A's sent me a trade idea that involved Hunter Greene and Shea Langoliers and a couple of different prospects not named Leo DeVries. And I was intrigued by it, but I still think that they could do better if they are actually going to trade Hunter Greene. And he was also talking about Tyler Stevenson and things like that. And I'm just like, I think it's a little bit too steep for the Reds in that case. But Shea Langoliers would be an interesting candidate. You're also talking, and Scott Gamble brings up, the A's and the Angels. There are two teams that are no harder to figure out in Major League Baseball than those two teams, because at any moment, today they could be sellers and tomorrow they could be buyers. You just don't know what you're going to get with either one of those two teams. And I think that's honestly why the Reds didn't acquire Taylor Ward last year, because the Angels turned out to be buyers and they went crazy, like signing people and trading for people, and look where it got them.
Well, and it's clear that Angels are going to be an overhaul now this offseason, like a complete overhaul.
Yeah, they waited
like start from scratch overhaul. Little inside baseball for those watching us live here on YouTube. Jeff, just going to ask you over the air. Do we need a natural break for the audio feed or just plow on?
Just plow on.
All right, let's go on into this. How about this? Will the Reds keep Gavin Lux? There's a second part of this. There we go. Some say Gavin Lux to be traded. I could see that as a salary, right? Well, I could see that as like a salary cutting move. I mean, Gavin Lux is not going to bring you a lot in return. He could be a piece of a larger package,
kicker or something. Yeah.
But I kind of think he's going to be on this team next year, especially with the devastating news of the loss of Santiago Espanol.
Just going to say, yeah. I was thinking
I saw you winding up.
Yep.
I saw you winding up for it, and I'm not going to let you have another one. So there you go.
Now that they've lost Santiago Espanol, they've got to replace him somehow, and I think that they could do that very well with Gavin.
Yeah, it's just not.
I'm trying to get through that whole thing with a straight face. But no, he fits in much better than what Santiago Espanol did. I think you could probably argue Santiago Espanol had a better glove. Gavin Lux has a better bat, but they both have similar batting profiles in that Gavin Lux is not a home run threat, but he's a good on base, good, base hit kind of guy. And he can play all of the positions that Espanol could play, except I don't think he's ever played shortstop, so you can cut that out. But second, third, and corner outfield, at least according to the Reds. So I think that could be the reason that he stays. I have seen rumors about him, but quite frankly, if there aren't rumors about somebody on this team outside of like Elly De La Cruz being traded, I would be surprised, because it feels like the Reds should be, and this goes back to what we were talking about with Nick Krall being aggressive. He needs to understand that there might be a move or two that doesn't seem palatable right now, but he could really mold into something if he makes the right trade. So there should be nobody that is untouchable, which is also a topic that we've had the last couple of off seasons.
Right, exactly. And following up on Taylor Ward, Jack says, I like trading for Taylor Ward and or Brandon Lowe, and then signing the cheaper of Austin Hayes or Miguel Andujar, and then move on upgrading the pin. Andujar.
Yeah,
that's the one that pinged me on this. I really would like to see them find a way to bring him back if they can get the money reasonable to bring him back as a right-handed piece. He DH'd a lot during his time in Cincinnati, but that had a lot to do also with his legs being injured. He was hurt and powering through it, right? I think you could platoon him out in the corner, and the numbers seem to say that he would be the great right-handed hitting half of a platoon. And then depending on what you do with other way, you can pair him up with the TJ Friedel of it all. You can move things in a certain direction. Go ahead, do it.
Will Benson?
Yeah, he's not going to be on this team. That's just not going to happen.
It does. I mean, honestly,
I don't know what he did to Terry Francona in Cleveland, but I would like to know what he did to Terry Francona in Cleveland, because clearly Terry Francona does not believe in Will Benson.
I just, it doesn't make, like, when you sort the team statistics by slugging, and he played 90 games. It's not as if he played a tiny sample size. He had 230 at bats. He was the 7th best slugging percentage on the team. And yet for some reason, it seemed like it was hard pressed to get him on the field. And you're right. Like, if we follow along with what happened to Ian Chabot, what happened to Santiago Espanol, it kind of feels like he's next as far as the getting outrighted to AAA. I don't know that he is to the point that he could decline the
Doesn't he have one more? Doesn't he have one more option?
I think he has one more option.
But I'm with you on the option. He's the insurance policy at Louisville next season. That's what's going to happen.
Right. But I'm with you on Miguel Andujar. I would like to see him back if that's something they could do. I know that our friend Tim Daniel, no S, has always said that, or for the last couple of months has said he would like to see Andujar back on like a 1-and-1. So like a 1-year deal with a 1-year team option or something like that. Mm-hmm. And yes, Will Benson does have a option. So he is here.
So do you won't see him get cut. They won't cut him, but they'll give him the Nick Senzel treatment.
They'll
put him down in Louisville, and they'll only, unless they non-tender him, but they'll only bring him back if there's an emergency.
I would find it hard to believe, though, that he would garner so much money that they would want to cut him. That's intriguing to me. But I
can't remember what Spot Track had him projected at, but it wasn't crazy money.
I still think if I were to power rank the 3 guys that were just mentioned after Taylor Ward, I would love to see Taylor Ward, but it's really hard to say if the Reds will make that trade, if the Angels will make that trade. But if I could power rank the likelihood of either Andujar, Hayes, or Benson in the Reds outfield next year, I think it's Andujar, Benson, Hayes. I just don't see them bringing back Hayes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's probably the way it breaks down. I want to get into this from a legendary dad here for just a second, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. But I do want to answer it because I said something in one of the shows where we were talking about Hunter Greene, and I just want to reiterate it. This from legendary dad: is the Hunter Greene trade stuff bogus? What would the Reds be looking for in return specifically? It's not bogus. And I want to tell you why I don't think it's bogus. This didn't come from the talking heads. It didn't come from the Jim Bowdens. It didn't come from guys that are third tier at ESPN just trying to fill time. This came as a result of a direct question from Mark Sheldon, Cincinnati Reds beat writer, to Nick Krall during a media availability. Mark Sheldon does not ask that specific question. He didn't ask, are you looking to trade a starting pitcher? He didn't say who you looking to trade. He specifically asked, are you looking to trade Hunter Greene? This from a Reds beat writer. It tells me that he heard something and he was trying to get confirmation. And the fact that Nick Krall did not give you the same adamant no that he gave when asked about moving Elly De La Cruz tells me there have at least been internal conversations, if not external conversations. So yes, there's something to it. I don't think that it's bogus, but they're not going to be forced to act on it. Like Jeff just said a few minutes ago, it's not like, well, I just got to take whatever the best deal is right now and we got to trade him because we got to trade him. They don't have to trade him. This is just, and I think a move to fix a lot of the holes in the team with one big sweep.
And I think there's a lot that goes into this because the Reds just don't leak stuff. So I feel like that means that there's a little bit more smoke to this rumor than with other typical rumors. Like the feelings, I'm not saying it's the same situation here, but the feelings of each rumor are very similar to the Jonathan India trade rumors, where remember, it was a couple of years that we dealt with Jonathan India trade rumors before he was actually traded. I don't necessarily know that it's going to take that long, and I don't think it's going to be, super, super fast either, but there's definitely more to this than a couple of Joes like us just getting on a podcast talking about who could be traded. Like there's more than just speculation here.
Yeah, and I'm going to be really interested to kind of watch how this plays out. It may go absolutely nowhere.
Right.
That is a real possibility, but someone's talking to somebody about this. That's what I think. Just
the
a couple
interesting
quick
part
hits.
too, because I did know, and before you jump into that, because I did note as well, like he did say there have been no conversations with other teams about anyone currently in the starting rotation. So he didn't even just say specifically Hunter Greene. He just said there's been no trade negotiations yet, which is good because if there had been, I think it'd technically be against the rules because you can't trade until the World Series is over.
So let's do a couple of these quick hit, Jeff. Just get your immediate knee-jerk reaction to these. Trade Greene to the A's for Soderstrom or Kurtz.
I think the A's are saying we don't want nothing for Kurtz because he ain't going nowhere.
That seems reasonable to me. Hunter Greene to the Red Sox for Jarren Duran. We've talked about this a little bit. Kyson Witherspoon and Garcia. What do you think?
I'd assume I don't know much about Kyson Witherspoon, but I would assume he's in the same ilk of Peyton Tolle or Connolly Early. So that's essentially the same offer that I got from from a Red Sox host on another Red Sox show, and I'd be all in on that one because the idea of having both Duran and Justinson Garcia along with a future pitching stud, that's exactly the type of offer that if I were Nick Krall, that'd be exactly the type of offer I'm looking for.
If they can't find a dance partner for Hunter Greene, would you consider trading Nick Lodolo?
Maybe not for Quan. I would need power. I cannot fathom a world where the Reds make some moves and don't get power and we're happy with it. Because this team just has no reason to be as low on the home run charts as they are. Like, I think it's hilarious to fixate on one stat like this, but it's odd. I mean, they're in the second most homer friendly park in the bigs. Like, I want to say it was either Yankee Stadium or there's one other one that wasn't Coors Field, which surprised me. But there was one other one that was ahead of GABP. And for some reason, we're never in the tops when it comes to hitting home runs. And I think they've got to go back to that because that has been the game changer in these playoffs. The teams that are in the World Series are the teams that just hit all of the bombs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's do one more. Hunter Greene to the Tigers. Max Clark, Troy Melton, Bryce Rayner, Chris.
I think those are all prospects.
We're not doing
Maybe.
that.
I'm not super.
I tell you what, there's not a 40 homer outfielder there. So no.
So, but I don't know those guys as well as I know the Red Sox offer.
Scott Campbell with an interesting question, Jeff. And if Elly De La Cruz is anchored at shortstop, could Arroyo learn outfield in AA, AAA this year? He can't hit well enough to be a journeyman infielder right now. I'm much more worried about if he's going to learn to listen. Edwin Arroyo in the majors is not a foregone conclusion. This guy has not hit. He's not hit at AA. So he's not moving to AAA to start the season. He's starting the year again in AA, right? And he's going to have to prove that he can hit. I don't see it.
How many games did he play in AA last year? I don't. The interesting part about this is I'm just not sure. Yeah, he only played 4 games. Or no, that was. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. He played 120 games. I was looking at a different year.
What was his last line? 120 games.
120 games. He had a 284 average. Nice. 345 on base. Solid. 371 slugging. Like, yeah, I feel like if you're not slugging. If you're not slugging 400 in AA, then you're not going to slug over 400 in the majors. I just don't see that. ISO power of 086. Not super good.
All right. Let's see what else we got here, Jeff.
But that, and I think too, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, is there a future center fielder in the Reds minor league system currently, like ready for 2028? No, there's not.
Ready for 2028?
There's not. There's not an outfielder ready for 2026 or 2027 or 2028 or 2029. There's no outfielders to be found that are going to come be difference makers for the Cincinnati Reds. Like Hector Rodriguez is your best bet of a guy that might come up and stick
next year. 2 years,
yeah. You maybe Tyler Callahan comes back and proves to be something useful. We don't know. We didn't get a good enough look at him. There's just nobody down there that's drawing attention and drawing the looks that's going to be a major outfield prospect. The scouts have said that the Reds continue to draft the best athlete, which is the shortstops, and you're moving people around. There's not even a shortstop that comes to mind right now that I think you end up making an outfielder and that could be a difference maker. Because to be a difference maker on this big league ball club, they need a power hitting corner outfielder. And there's none of that cooking in the minor leagues right now.
There's a lot of speculative guys, a lot of guys that would like make you kind of raise your eyebrow a little bit, but nobody that you're just getting super excited about at the moment, which I think is another reason to explore some of the other trades where it's like, can you get a guy that helps you now and can you get a prospect for later or something like that? Might be worth a look, but I'm not into the all prospects ideas at the moment.
Is the Reese Hines of it all done? Are they done with Reese Hines?
They shouldn't be. They should not be done with Reese Hines, but he's again another guy that confuses me as to why he doesn't get more of a look. And it just might be that they believe they know who he is and they don't love his process with getting to the field. Like, what happens off the field that we as fans are not privy to. But at the same time, like, he's got a ton of power. And if you can live with the low average, to kind of feel like that's how the game as a whole has moved, then he should be getting more of a look. But I think if he were to get more of a look, it would have been last year.
This from Adrian, our guy Adrian. Is it South America? Is that where Adrian's at?
South Africa.
South Africa? I knew it was South somewhere. All right, he wants Jeff
sent me a
to
picture of the ocean the other day on Twitter in a DM, and I'm like, "Is that the Atlantic or the Indian Ocean?" He's like, "Nope, it's the Indian Ocean." So he's that far away.
Nice. Appreciate him tuning in. I only get to see the Pacific every single day, Jeff.
No,
that's nice. Nice for
you.
All right, he wants you to weigh in on the best return you could get for Lodolo, given his current value.
Best return for Lodolo. That's an intriguing one because it doesn't feel like it should be much less than Hunter Greene at this point. Although it seems as though he's got just as many, durability questions, which is probably you're probably having the same conversations that you have about a potential Hunter Greene trade. So I think that I think that Nick Lodolo could bring back what you're looking for. Similarly, it's probably let's compare it with the Red Sox deal because that's the one that's I have the most understanding of when it comes to looking at other guys. I think in that situation, you probably remove the pitching prospect. You either get Justinson Garcia or you get the pitching prospect. You don't get both. That's probably the difference to me. Which is still good. I mean, talk about Jarren Duran and Justinson Garcia or Jarren Duran and a top pitching prospect seems pretty nice. But I don't think it's as deep as Hunter Greene is.
Scott Campbell. And I chuckled when he posted this. Who wants to boo Phil with me at Reds Fest this offseason? Jeff and I will be at Reds Fest. Jeff and I are not going to be booing Phil. If you've not ever heard the story, Jeff and I riding an escalator at Reds Fest a couple years back. We're going up. Phil's coming down. And Jeff and I got dagger-eyed. That was at the time where I was doing the SOB shtick of Son of Bob. And I am 100% certain that he heard that.
Well, because it was like one of those, you're on the escalator, you're going down, you kind of look over at somebody, you look over, and he's like, it was like, oh.
It was you. Yeah. So if you'd like to join Scott in the boo section, he'll tweet out a meeting location, I would think. Let's do a few more. Let's do a few more before we get out of here. This is an interesting take. Where'd it go? There it is. This from Ben. The best time to trade Lodolo was this past trade deadline. His value will never be higher than it was then. I disagree. If he starts the season healthy and pitches like he did up to the trade deadline last year, he would be flippable. But I don't see the Reds making a splash trade like that for one of those ace starting pitchers, Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo, as an in-season deal. That's going to be like a long discussion off-season deal where you're getting needs to help the team start in a good place. This is not a we need to go get a Band-Aid type of move towards the trade deadline. It's got to be an off-season move.
Yeah, if it's a trade in season, that means you're just getting prospects. You're not getting a major leaguer back, I would think. The other interesting part with this, and because I know, and Ben makes the point, I don't think he'll stay healthy. There's that question mark. But the other thing that we're forgetting, we haven't mentioned it just yet, as I was looking at it on Baseball Reference, Nick Lodolo is actually 2 years older than Hunter Greene is. Nick Lodolo is 27. It's not as if we're talking about, two guys that's 23 years old and they got their whole careers ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Nick Lodolo's got a big chunk of his career ahead of him, but you're not talking about somebody as young as Hunter Greene is. And so that's an interesting discussion to have about a guy that I feel like he just got here, but at the same time, time continues to move whether we perceive it or not. And that's where he is. He's actually the oldest of the three, right? We think of Greene, Lodolo, and Abbott. Greene is 25, Abbott's 26, and Lodolo's 27. And so there might be some more merit to the idea of trading Nick Lodolo for just longevity standpoint, but that's also one of the reasons that you won't get as much as if you trade Hunter Greene.
Just hit this real quick. Did Francona make a positive difference overall for the Reds 2025 performance? Yes, he did. And I think the next show back in your feed is a whole
Wednesdays, not
Wednesday.
The most.
Is it two back? Wednesday show. Go check it out. We talk about this. What else we want to hit on, Jeff, before we get out of here? This is, I'm excited for the World Series. It's been fun baseball. Can we take just a second as baseball fans and talk about that 18-inning game that the Dodgers and the Blue Jays played?
Well, you would be more equipped to do that since you're 6 hours behind.
Because I know, because you and Tim Daniel, both of you lightweighted East Coasters.
It's the 13th inning at 1:30 in the morning.
Checked out and left me on red in the group chat as I watched an epic 18-inning affair in the World Series. All of the things I love about playoff baseball happened in this game. You get Clayton Kershaw in relief. You get Yamamoto, who pitched a complete game in game 2, down in the bullpen warming up. Shane Bieber, who was supposed to go the next day for the Blue Jays, is down in the bullpen warming up. Dave Roberts is giving interviews in the dugout saying, listen, we're going with Yamamoto, and if it goes beyond that, I got nobody else a position player is going to pitch. Never happened in the World Series. And I was rooting for it, dude. I was like, give me 21 innings. I want to see Freddie Freeman on the mound. I wanted it to happen. And we didn't quite get there because Freddie Freeman screwed it up. But what a fun baseball game. So many close plays. So many plays decided on crew chief reviews. By the way, credit to that umpiring crew for on the bang, bang plays being like, no. Don't even challenge. We're just going to let New York do it. We're crew chief review. Credit to them on that, because there were so many plays that were decided by this much that impacted the game. It was so much fun to just sit and watch that game without having a horse in the race, so to speak. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the umpiring crew understood the assignment. You know whose fault it was, though? Because I saw this after the game. I don't know. I'm sure you saw this too, but you might not be on the same wavelength with my brain right now. Brad Paisley. Brad Paisley's done the national anthem for 4 different World Series games, and they've all gone extra, or 5, and they've all gone at least 11 innings.
And both 18-inning games in World Series history. Brad Paisley, national anthem.
Something about
they're never going to ask him back. They're going to be like,
well, he's going to be like, do you think he stayed for all of that? I don't think he stayed for all.
Meanwhile, the beer vendors are all going to be like, listen, what can we do to get Brad Paisley to sing the national anthem? Because we never had a better day in our lives. They're going to take up a collection.
They were taking ice baths after that game after walking.
And this, yes, I forgot about this. This is a great point too. Will Smith catches all 18 innings of that ball game. I don't know if he could walk the next day. Like, that's
especially
incredible.
you think about hearing all throughout the wild card series how he wasn't playing because he was hurt. So it's like he finally got healthy again, and here he is catching 2 games in one night.
That's craziness. What a fun game. It was such a fun game, Jeff. He should have stayed awake. He missed out. All right, let's get. Do we got one more here, guys? Do we got something we missed? Oh, this is funny. Lodolo is fine. It's his alter ego, the blister, that we have to worry about. You're not wrong, Scott. You are not wrong. And health is the thing, right? Both with Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo. You have to trade them or shop them from the standpoint that the team that's getting them is going to get between 20 and 25 starts. You're not going to get 30, but those 20 to 25 starts are going to be ace level starting pitcher. And, and maybe with Hunter Greene, it gets better. Again, he's younger than Lodolo, so maybe it still gets better. But I think Lodolo is we've seen who Lodolo is. He's going to be injured once or twice a year, and that's just the way that it's going to be. But you factor that in to the return, right? So Hunter Greene, a little bit more upside, a little bit more potential for health and expansion of starts and innings. So you get a little bit more in that package, like Jeff said. The Nick Lodolo package, maybe you subtract a prospect from that because already you're going to get 20 starts, and that's great, but it's only going to be 20 starts. So you price accordingly. So I don't think it prohibits a trade. It just makes the return will be altered a little bit.
I think, and let's end on this one because Adrian asked this question. Do you think they actually trade Hayes away, this being Ke'Bryan Hayes? I think he's under the group of you can't count out the possibility, but if we're breaking down what he's going to get in return, I don't even know that it's a relief pitcher at this point. Like, the Gold Glove means something, but when you are a opposing general manager and you start discussing a potential trade for Ke'Bryan Hayes, you wonder where you're putting him in the lineup, which is kind of one of the only reasons that we're worried about his future here in Cincinnati, is that it doesn't seem as though he's ever going to be more than a guy that you put at the bottom of your lineup. And that's tough when it comes to being a third baseman.
So what about this? He proved that when he got out of the hellscape that is Pittsburgh, he hit a little bit better. And I would be depressed and not play well if I was in Pittsburgh also. So getting him out of Pittsburgh did have a positive impact on his game, right? He performed better. Now, again, not a world beater. Did he perform better than a ninth hitter? No, but he performed better. If you could flip him this offseason and get something more in return than what you gave to get him, and get that, what is it, $7 million this year? We looked up, I can't remember, but something in the neighborhood of $7 million this year. Get that $7 million freed up to apply towards a power hitting outfielder. It's a no-brainer to me. You trade him. I trade him in a heartbeat.
Because then you could put Sal Stewart at third base. I mean, easy replacement. Because that's the other reason. Like, I know that there are some folks that are there were some folks that were upset that the Reds acquired Ke'Bryan Hayes because they're like, man, this blocks Sal Stewart. And while I don't necessarily ascribe to the ideas that, we're worried about who we're blocking at this point because we need to win ball games, at the same time, now that it's the offseason and you can kind of like sit back and analyze everything on the whole, the big picture of Ke'Bryan Hayes is this. I really, really like him, but it kind of feels like if he is whatever a step above an automatic out is as a bat, then that is what you're hoping for, is like the 100 percentile outcome, because he's only ever had 1 year where he's been above an OPS plus of 100. And that was in a year that, he played 124 games, but even then he was only worth 3.9 WAR, just because he doesn't produce a lot at the plate. All of his value is with his glove. And it's really tough to be a glove first third base. And
that year you're talking about was an outlier for him, a real outlier of a year. He has not come anywhere close to replicating that. And I was just thinking before you went to OPS plus, I was just thinking, what would be an acceptable number for me to say, okay, you can keep him around, the defense plus this number equals me being okay with him being the third baseman. Now, mind you, the third baseman that you've got to hit ninth in this team, a position that's normally reserved for a guy that brings you some power, a guy that hits 3, 4, 5 in the lineup. We're talking about what would be acceptable for him to be a number 9 hitter. And I come back and land in the neighborhood of he would have to have an OPS plus of 110, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you're talking about, his defense.
The best season he's ever had. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, so that, that 2022 season in 136 games was a 103. And you just look at that and you're like, do you believe he can come anywhere close to that? I don't. Between what he has showed for a body of work, what we know about the chronic back issues, if you find a taker to get that salary off the books and that you get something equal to or better than what you gave up to get him, and they didn't give up a whole lot to get him, it's kind of a no-brainer for me that you move on from Ke'Bryan Hayes. It was a nice try. It was an interesting thought process to bring him in at the deadline. That's a long contract for a guy that can't hit. So if you can move him, move him.
Yeah, and I think the problem is compounded, not just in a vacuum, but like when you consider the Reds' whole picture, because right now they're looking at the fact that their corners on the infield are great gloves, but neither of their bats belong at the position that they play. Mm-hmm. Spencer Steer's bat is not a first baseman's bat.
Nope.
Spencer Steer's bat, second baseman / utility guy. Like, I love Spencer Steer, but that is who he is right now. And until he breaks out and finds that next level, that's where he is. He is not a first baseman from the bat perspective. And so you've got to consider, how do you get those positions back up to where they need to be in a lineup that already has too many holes? I think you've got to consider at some point Sal Stewart's playing one of those positions, whatever it is, because I think he's got a chance to be that guy. I think Spencer Steer, you got to squint a little bit harder to see.
I want to push back a little bit on what you just said about Spencer Steer at first base. He's hit 20 or more home runs in every full season he's played at the big league level. How much more do you need him to hit before you would be like, okay, he can be the first baseman? What does he need, 30?
The homers are nice. What's the slugging?
What are you looking for? Well, okay, so slugging percentage every year, full season, starting in 2023. We're not going to count his 2022 numbers. He only played 28 games. 2023, 464. 2024, 402. 2025, 411.
So who would you say he is? Is he 2023 or is he 2024, 2025?
I think he's more 2023, because you have to remember that the 2024 was really the sophomore, and everybody slumps a little bit in their sophomore year. In 2025, he started the year with a wrecked shoulder to help the team. I think a true healthy Spencer Steer is that 2023 guy.
If that's the case, then I will concede that he's a first baseman, but that's a guy that's got to show it, because he ain't showed it the last couple of years. And I get it. There's extenuating circumstances, this, that, and the other, but I know what I've seen, and what I've seen is not a first baseman for the last 2 years.
And so Ben's backing you up. He's like, 20 homers doesn't mean much if your OPS is 700. Well, that year I'm talking about, the guy that I think Spencer Steer can be and is when healthy, it was 820. And that's much better.
That's solid. Cause like, I'm thinking, let me see here. Cause the one comparison I would make, because I don't think,
and his OPS in 2023, Spencer Steer was 17% better than league average. His OPS plus was 117. So I mean, I can't guarantee you he's that guy, but I really think he's that guy. I think if he starts the season healthy, we see that guy again.
So, and this isn't a fair comparison, because he was better at getting on base and better with the batting average, but the OPS, and this is where I'm trying to get at here, the OPS is comparable to Sean Casey. So if he can get around that 830 mark, then we're fine. And Sean Casey was really productive when it comes to the RBIs and when it comes to giving you a hit when you need a hit. It just doesn't feel like Spencer Steer. I expected him to be there. I think he's got to show it to me, though. I'm not going to go into this offseason saying that Spencer Steer's the mashed potatoes anymore. I think he's the instant mash before you really mix in the liquid and cook it. He's just got to mix in the liquid and cook it.
Always food with you. It's never not food. Never not
always.
Food. I agree with this. Spear is not the offensive problem for the Reds. Agreed. There's many more offensive problems.
He's also not been a solution.
Steer.
That's another thing.
So all of that defending of him at first base, I would much rather see him at second base. I have been not a secret about what I want to have happen. I want Steer at second. I want McLain at short. And I want Elly in the outfield. That's what I want to have happen. That's their best defensive lineup, and that's their best chance to get the most bats in the lineup. But if they don't do that, I'm fine with Spencer Steer at first base, especially if he's the 2023 guy.
We shall see. We shall see. Lots more to come where that discussion is from, but that's where we will end today's podcast. Thanks so much, everybody. I tried to combine those words. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us on this live show and jumping down in the comment section. Appreciate everybody involved there. We're going to try to continue to do live shows throughout the offseason at different points. We'll let you know well in advance whenever we do that, so you can prepare your calendars accordingly. But that'll do it for us here today. Now make sure that you go check out Locked On MLB. Sully and Locked On MLB Game Night have got you covered every single day all throughout the World Series, which really might end today. Like we mentioned, Blue Jays could end this thing. Although it's Yamamoto pitching, it might be tough. I think it might go 7, but still a couple of days left in the baseball season. Locked On MLB's got you covered all throughout the year, just like us, because we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. You know that all through the cold of the winter, we're going to be talking Reds baseball right here, because we're Locked On Reds every single day.
I need lunch now. You with the food, always.
I had some leftover chili right before this. It was very good.
That's what you said. I have not had anything yet. It's early here.
Also out of Coca-Cola, so I'm going to go get some more.